Sire, there is movement within the French encampments. Our people grow uneasy.
The people have bigger problems. Our coffers threaten to become bare.
You talk of war and gold when it is our faith that matters.
Faith? How can the Pope expect troops for his crusade when
My
our
lords,
borders are
there
in
are
danger?
more subtle ways to deal with the French.
Intrigue is
Just
irrelevant
give
if
the
our
word.
borders are attacked.
Your call for
Cloak and
honesty
dagger.
is
Sit
so
behind
strong.
your
How can our
Byzantine
people
Spies,
risk
spies,
their
we
souls
We must
for
raise
our
our arms and
people?
defend our...
Enough! I've made my decision. Squire, fetch my armor!
Everyone can hear me, well, hear as much as my voice is left right now. Everyone can hear me in the Twitch chat. So once you got confirmation and you can hear me, please say something and then we'll go ahead and get this show started. I guess I can talk to Alex while I'm waiting for, hooray, people can hear me. Hey, Yavor, how you doing? Alex, how are you today?
Oh, hi, Bart. I'm pretty well. We're lately working a lot on the new milestone stuff, mainly diplomacy right now. So it's a huge topic that we can explore soon. And yeah,
okay.
it's a lot of action.
Very, very cool. I'm going to apologize to everyone in advance. My voice is a little bit rough today for two reasons. One, I have I actually a number of years ago injured my voice. I have like scar tissue on my vocal cords, so my voice can kind of go out a little bit every once in a while if I stress it a little bit. And it's been a little bit stressed because playoffs baseball just started, and I am a baseball fan, an Atlanta Braves fan. And that's why I'm sporting my jersey today, wearing my colors. I know we maybe have American baseball fans in chat today, but I may or may not have been a little excited yesterday during the game as we won game one. So apologize for my voice being a little bit rough, but I got my warm water and honey to help me through it, and we should be good.
Okay, you got me worried there for a minute, so I will try to talk more and save you some pain if possible. But yeah.
Oh no, I'll be fine. There's actually before I started working with with THQ Nordic and you guys, there's an interview of me a long time ago with very long hair on a different project, and this was at I think it was PAX East, and my voice, I was on mic the whole like 4 days during the conference, and it's really that's actually where I damaged my vocal cords. But there's an interview with me on Twitch, and my voice is absolutely gone. I'm still kind of talking through it, and I mean, talking through it maybe why I'm still suffering today. So there you go. It's all good.
You seem to be unstoppable then. Okay.
No, man, video games must go on. You know,
Yeah.
we love making them, we love playing them. You can't stop. That's right. You know,
Nothing can stop us. It's
it's
why
like
go.
the old adage in Civilization, one more turn. Like I definitely I believe in that. You just gotta do the one more turn and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So
How
how have you been, Alex? You been playing anything lately?
Yes, as I mentioned, I couldn't wait to spend some time on Desperado stream, and this is not something. It's not a commercial. I really love.
Yeah, look at Alex.
Tactical actions. Yeah, I know I should be playing some of the newest grand strategies, Crusader things, but I just need some time to relax when I'm off working hours, and right now I just need a bit more of tactical actions. So yeah. It's
Yeah,
awesome
actually,
game.
really, I played Desperados 3 a little bit. I really enjoyed what I played there. It's the presentation is really cool. I was also playing similar but different. I was playing Wastelands 3 a little bit too. I've really been enjoying that. Really cool.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
The level of polishing of that game, of actually everything that Mimi do, it's the polish, it's the how everything works perfectly. Not that something extremely new is brought to the genre. There are some new things, of course, but it's the mastery of completion of the game. So I admire that very much.
Yeah. Well, let's get in talking about our game, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
So I saw one proud Bavarian's already cheering us on. He's like, merchants and trading, let's go. So it's just super exciting. This will be a fun topic, I think. It's in a way I feel like this is one of the real centerpieces of a game like Knights of Honor. It's the economy, how you generate gold, how you kind of ramp your economy up. I mean, that's a really big part of these games. And I mean, the merchant, the whole idea of like having the royal court be kind of the center of what you do as a king and having them kind of execute and support your will. That merchant class is the driving force behind growing your economy. So this is a fun one to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. For me, this is also a huge topic because I like the economy part of the game even more than the military. I'm just that type of player, and right now we made a lot of new stuff for the merchant. It's not just how many merchants you have, but there is a lot of choice that we offer to the players with that class right now.
Yeah,
And when you have the whole system skill behind the merchant, it's a whole world there.
definitely.
It's very interesting.
So, by the way, Yvor, thank you very much for the comment on Spellforce 3 in the news there. Yeah, really exciting. I'm a big Spellforce 3 fan personally, so it's cool to hear those announces. So, let's go ahead and before we get into the actual details, why don't you talk about what a merchant can do? Why don't you give the audience a little bit of information about what a merchant is? You know, what is this class in the roll core? I know we've talked about it before. Some people probably already read the Dev Diary, but some people haven't. So maybe you can give
Yeah, sure.
everyone a little bit, like a quick summary of what the merchant class is.
The primary role of a merchant, of course, is to generate gold for the economy of a kingdom and arrange some trade deals that are there are very various trade deals in the Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign game. So we'll probably discuss them in details in this. Of course, we will in this stream. Yeah, that's the main goals, but not. There are a lot of other stuff a merchant can do right now in the game. It's not just the gold he brings.
Yeah, and for the royal court, you know, when you're getting a merchant, you can either get a merchant from, you know, one of your king can be a merchant, or maybe like one of the princes or something in your family, or you can always recruit a royal court member, you know, from the lords and lordship and the population, and get a merchant that way. So it's
Yeah, yeah.
you can have more than
As-
one. It's kind of yeah with
y-
you'd be able to go ahead.
You can have a bunch of merchants. Actually, this is the class that you can have most of because they do not require wages, and that
Oh,
means
right.
that
Okay.
if you once you afford to get them, of course, you need to also have a proper means to use them. But once you afford to get them, it's not a problem even early game because they generate and do not cost gold, so they are perfect for massing up in the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And of course, like for all classes, if the merchant is king or prince, that's even better because they have some additional bonuses.
Yeah, I really feel like for me when I play, and the merchant's usually one of the first royal court members I grab because you definitely are like you know everything is kind of based on gold in the beginning. You're trying to get your economy going, be able to create buildings and develop provinces and build armies, and you need that going. So you really invest heavily. My style of play, I usually invest heavily in a merchant early on. And we talked about before, just as a quick summary, you know, all the classes have skills. You can earn skills. There are some unique skills to merchant, like I think trading is a skill for a merchant that improves how their trading stuff
Yeah.
works. You have commerce, I think, is a skill that improves how much
Bargain, logistics,
bargain, right?
yeah, and as we mentioned in the previous streams, you can learn skills that are not primary for the merchant, but you still can benefit from them as an additional secondary skill. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
So,
there's a lot of
and
choice.
one of the cool things that we've changed, you know, that Knights of Honor 2 we talked about in the previous stream too, is the ability for royal court members to govern provinces. So you assign a royal court member to a province, and they govern it, and that's where like you know you can do cool things based on that class. So obviously every class has some baseline things that they do as a governor, but the merchant has some unique things that I see some people in in the chat already talking about it a little bit, so that's kind of cool.
Okay.
But the merchants have some unique things that they do when they govern a province. So maybe you can talk about a little bit about what those unique aspects of a merchant are when they're governing.
Yeah, this is really something that only merchants can do. When they become governors, on top of other bonuses, because that's not the only bonus, they provide more gold, commerce in settlements, and so on. It depends on their skills, of course. Something that they do is creating passively some trade caravans and ships that travel to nearby kingdoms and create a whole network of traders, which creates very interesting dynamic in the game. And if, this is even more profitable if the town they are governing is a trade center, actually, which is a special property of a town. It can be earned, it can be lost. But this makes trade caravans and ships even bigger, and they carry more profit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really cool thing. So that to answer your question, Dragon, I think it's Dragon Drop Dota, I think. Yes, there's actually a way for these trade caravans appear on the map, and they actually have some gameplay around them. That's a relatively new feature that was added in the build, I think a couple months ago, like 2 or 3 months ago. And I remember when I first played it and I saw them walking around, I'm like, whoa, what is this? This is so cool. Like it feels immersive when you're like, you put the governor down and you see all these little like boats spawn out, little guys carrying the merchant caravans, carrying their goods around, and generating that extra revenue. It's kind of a cool thing. But they're not just visual, right? There's actually some potential gameplay around them, I believe.
Yeah, so far something that we've made is the rebels can attack those caravans, and we are really considering it's technically possible for other kingdoms to attack them. But right now, since you have no control where they will go, we fear that it might be a little exploitative for you to farm enemy caravans too easily passing by your kingdom. So we are still debating over that idea, and but there will be other ways to attack caravans. For example, one robbery with the spy class and so on. Something that we'll talk about later on when we are discussing espionage and spy actions.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Yuvor, right now, you really can't control the caravans, but there's, like we talked about, and I know I'm a little bit of a broken record with this, but I mean, the game is very much in development. You can hear, even from Alex's responses, there's debates happening right now. There are things that we're trying that we write about that may change. A lot of it is about trying things and playing them and testing them and see how they break or make the game better, and then go from there. So, but the caravans themselves, I think, I mean, obviously anything could change, but it seems like from my viewpoint, they're there to stay. It's a really cool feature. It adds some neat elements into the game for sure.
Definitely. We'll keep you informed on the development of the caravans. Right now, it's just too easy to go and click them because they don't fight back. And
yeah, I mean, it's one of those kind of things where it's like, attacking them sounds fun, but then you have to figure out, okay, well, how do you defend them? And I don't know, maybe you can, I mean, now I'm doing the thing I should never do on stream, but maybe you could like assign defenders from the province, like part of the province is a provincial guard that can go with those caravans and kind of like be a defense force with them or something. And you can develop that as you develop your province or something. I don't know.
We have discussed Province Watch. It was even a building that you can construct in the previous version.
Right.
And right now you cannot attack them.
Yeah, it's always a back and forth on what works and what's not going to work.
Yeah.
So governing is something that everyone can do, right? But there are actually some like cool kind of skills that the merchant gets that are more about actions it can take. And I really think the Dragon, caravan guards. I'll be team caravan guard. Why not? I think Alex may be not caravan guard, but I like it. I'll team caravan guard. Props in the chat. Why not?
Yeah.
So the skill, the unique thing about what the merchants can actually do is this trading action. They can trade with other kingdoms.
Yeah, this is probably if we have to point out one main thing that they do, it's establishing trade with a selected kingdom, and this is just the beginning of their role. They can govern at the same time as they are trading with one kingdom. And this opens up a lot of opportunities for further actions and development of the trade, importing, and so on. But everything starts with diplomacy. You have to first make a diplomatic agreement, which is not a role of the trader. It's rather diplomacy between the kingdoms, where the diplomat can be very useful. And then once you have an agreement, you need a merchant that opens up trade route, establishes the actual trade between the kingdoms, and then there are a lot of options that start from there.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like different classes have their own unique mechanics. Like the spy does espionage, and obviously the marshals lead armies. The merchants, their real core mechanic is about initiating that trade. But to your point, there is a little bit of elements about the other systems, right? Like you can't just trade with your enemy. Like you got to form a relationship, get them to like you enough to be like, all right, yeah, sure, we'll open up trade. Can a merchant, like when you have a merchant, can they trade with multiple kingdoms at once, or do they just trade with one kingdom? How does that work?
Right now, one merchant is limited for within one kingdom, and we have also tested the other way around. But it seems more thematic that because trade between two kingdoms is something huge, and also gameplay-wise, it opens up a lot of possibilities. So right now one merchant can be in exactly one kingdom, and there are some interactions though with the other merchants of other kingdoms that are trading with the kingdom he's in. So it's a bit more complex than this. You can have secondary interactions with more kingdoms in this way.
Okay. By the way, I'm not sure if you're watching chat, but Busen, what is this guy's name? Busen Pilanakata. I don't know how to pronounce it, but this person is talking about, he or she is talking about the next Marvel Cinematic Universe movie should be Guardians of the Caravans. So it looks like caravan guards are the new hot thing, right? Should tell Disney about that. Maybe they can make their the next movie. I think we've tried that different ways. Honestly, I know in previous builds we've had merchants be able to like trade with one and trade with the other. But I think one of those challenges is that it really kind of it limits how unique you can build those relationships with, and honestly, it kind of breaks the fantasy of it. In my mind, whenever I have a royal court member doing something, I imagine being the king and being like, "Go trade with this guy." And that merchant goes and kind of lives there and visits and builds those relationships, and it's kind of that fantasy of them investing in it, and that's it makes sense to me that you have that building thing.
It's more neat as a gameplay and as a feeling because in the previous versions you could have, for example, 20 kingdoms you are trading with, and it was just a lot for the player, too much, I think. And right now everything is there's a lot to do with one kingdom, so and you can always move a merchant around if you don't like the kingdom he's in. There is of course cost because you build up your trade positions and so on, but
Sure.
it's possible, and it's a viable strategy from time to time to move the merchants.
I actually see right now we have on the screen the importing goods action. So when you're trading with a kingdom, there's obviously you're generating revenue with there's some things we're going to talk about in a minute about special events or things that happen that help you build up that relationship. One of the actions you can take is actually doing trades, like trading different things. So you can talk to us a little bit about what are the things that you can trade with a kingdom, like what is those actions that you can take when it comes to
there is quite a bunch of actions.
Okay.
Gogo will discuss, I think, some of his favorites in details. But one of the main things, as shown on the screen right now, is the import of goods, and this is very very important action because people who have played the first game, and it's probably even more difficult in the second one, know that it's very difficult to get all the resources because you don't have the proper raw resources, province features as we call them, to mine everything you need. So you, if you want to develop your kingdom in a certain direction, you definitely need to trade a lot, and import is the way to do it. Of course, you can always conquer the whole world, but it's quite easier to just import what you need most at the moment.
Yeah, you also think we talked about in the dev diary the also like being able to trade food, either selling it to people or importing it if you're low on food, things like that, which is kind of cool, especially when it comes to how food works with like supporting your military and making your people happy. So there's you kind of can choose what kind of things you want to trade and how it's going to fit in with your bigger strategy.
Yeah. Trading food is a bit different than importing goods from the standard type, for example, herbs and so on, because food is a currency. Actually, it's kind of a currency of the kingdom, and you need it what to make bigger armies. You have a lot of ways to produce more food, so it's really serious choice whether you're a big producer of food or you rely on import. And if you have food problems, it's not just a blocker to continue some development or to build. It's your army can revolt. A lot of things can happen. Your peasantry starts to dislike the rulership. There are rebellions and so on. It's a mess. So food trade is really important in this game, and it was historically so. Right.
Yeah. I think it's fun. It's nice to have these like different decisions you're making about, do you want to build up a kingdom that you'd be an exporter and you have enough resources available where you can go and trade those to other kingdoms that may need them, and so you can get money from that, or are you building up your kingdom to do other things and you need to bring in food through a trade deal, and sometimes those things may happen circumstantially, like a war starts out and you have to carry a larger army, and so now you need food and you don't have enough, and it just kind of plays with that kind of larger the strategy, which I think is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you have to adapt on each situation because, for example, you can export a lot of food, and when war starts, you just stop your exports and build a bigger army because you have the production and so on. There are a lot of options there.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, I know we have some more topics to talk about here with Georgie. So, Alex, we're going to bid you adieu for now, but we're going to be bringing you back a little bit later for the Q&A session. We have quite a few comments from our community that we're going to be checking in on. As a reminder, everyone, we post these dev diaries that we're referencing while we're on this conversation at community.knightsofhonor.com. We have the dev diaries there. We have a lot of people participating and discussing things. We read the forums all the time. We don't always respond as actively as maybe you want us to, but I know Alex is reading them pretty much daily. I'm reading them every couple of days. And a lot of those feedbacks and conversations definitely inform some of the decisions we're making. So please come and join us. Feel free to get in there. And then obviously we always try to, not always try, we always do take questions from the forums on the dev diaries and go over them during the stream. So we'll have Alex back in a little while to go through those.
See you in a bit.
See you in a bit, Alex. And now we're gonna have Georgie join us here in a second. All right, Georgie, I got the thumbs up that you're on. How you doing?
Yo, hello. Nice to be here back. Good.
Yeah.
I'm doing great.
I like your espionage background there. Looks
yeah,
very,
no, right.
Yeah.
Doesn't look very merchanty. Although,
No.
you never know what the merchants do in the back alleys, what deals they're making.
Right. Well, I mean, we talked about espionage a little bit before, right? It could be a merchant who is under the influence of the other kingdom, so it could be a merchant spy for all you know, right?
Yeah, or he has a secondary spy skill, so that's also possible. Some interesting opportunities there.
Right. I love how the Knights of Honor, which is the guys, or the King of Honor, I should say, in Twitch chat said there's a gold chest on the king's desk, so that's merchancy. So you're good to go.
Yeah. That's what I was going for. Thank you for backing me up there. The Kings of Honor.
Oh, look at that! Kings of Honor just trying to earn points with Georgie, so Georgie listens to what what he or she suggests. Oh man, how you been,
Awesome.
Georgie?
Pretty all right considering the rainy, miserable weather right now. Just playing all sorts of games and chilling and working on the milestone, as Alex said. Lots of stuff going on right now, but yeah, it's pretty going pretty
Blood
well.
diplomacy, I believe, right?
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I see. Beldroth is asking where your Viking background is. So maybe people are starting to pick up on which backgrounds you choose. That's fun.
Oh yeah.
We need. Maybe we should start a forum thread on the backgrounds of Georgie. People can take screenshots of the different Twitch streams that you're on, the dev streams you're on.
Yeah. The evolution of the backgrounds. Yeah.
Oh man. So we're talking about merchants today.
Yeah. Exciting stuff. You guys covered a lot about the merchants, but there's still some interesting tidbits that are left to discuss.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. So we were kind of walking through, how merchants trade with kingdoms, but we haven't really talked about, because obviously you can do different actions like trading for food or trading for goods, having merchants trading with different kingdoms, growing that up. But we haven't talked about, that sounds like a lot, but obviously there's some constraints, there's some strategy to it because we're making a strategy game, right? So one thing that came up in the dev diary is this idea of the kingdom commerce, which is a little bit new in Knights of Honor 2. And it's kind of, and it really is that resource limiter, that growth mechanic that helps drive how and when and who you decide to do actions with merchants. So maybe you can give everyone a quick summary of how kingdom commerce works as a mechanic right today, as it works today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, commerce is a pretty major resource in the game, to be honest, because when we were discussing trading and merchants in the beginning of the development and like months before, it was always a case of, okay, you get a merchant to get more gold. That's the basic idea behind it. But what else? I mean, can we add a little bit of nuance? Can we make it a little bit more different? Is there some choice we can
Spice it up a little
maybe
bit.
add? Yeah, definitely. So that choice we decided.
Emerald, like Emerald, that chef, right? They used to do on the Food Network, whatever. You like spice it up, we go bam.
Yeah,
You gotta
exactly.
do bam to the merchants, right? All right.
Yeah. And we decided to put a lot of spice with this one though, with the commerce. It's basically you can think of commerce like it's kind of like goat when you think about it, but it's an upkeep. So basically, you don't attain commerce by ticks. You don't gain commerce every 5 seconds or whatever, but you just it's a preset value that can get gained by buildings, by traditions, by governor effects, by many things. And in that sense, it's kind of a resource that you would get if you want to invest further into the future of your development. So for example, you might have a building that just says +2 gold, but if you have a building that gives you commerce, that means you may potentially develop your economic potential further on in the game. So you can safely develop your infrastructure like that in terms of economy. And the commerce is a resource that really goes into most of the merchant actions because it's, as I said, it acts as an upkeep for most of the interactions.
Yeah, I mean, it really it functions as an upkeep kind of parameter. So it's like, you have a certain amount of commerce, and every merchant action or things they do takes up a certain amount of that commerce. Like, for example, trading with a kingdom. Say I have like 10 commerce total right now. Trading with a kingdom could take 6 commerce. So then I have 4 left to use. And then if I decide to trade with another kingdom, it takes another 6. I could go over my total commerce allotment. And then I have a whole bunch of negative penalties. And in order to get that away, I may have to build a new harbor or a new building in a province to increase my total commerce from 10 to like 14 or 15. And so it's like, say, if I want to do food trading with 3 nations, if I don't have the commerce to support all that trade, then I'll go over commerce and then bad things start happening.
Yeah, definitely. And the most common case, I guess, is using commerce if you, for example, lead a lot of wars and you lose a lot of provinces. Actually, just to mention something with that example, if for example I have 6 commerce left and I have an action that costs 8 commerce, Right now in the game, you cannot do that action because you will go over the commerce limit. But if you lose a province, for example, that would put you in the red. That would put you at negative commerce.
Okay.
So you can't forcefully put yourself in a bad situation. You can't gamble like that, but you can get into that situation if you mess up and you don't plan things appropriately, and you trade with too many kingdoms while you're waging too many wars or something like that.
That's probably what's happened to me because I've played before. I've noticed my commerce has gone down and nothing
Yeah,
really happened.
yeah.
It's probably been something like something grew bigger than I expected, or I lost a province or something and it went negative.
Yeah,
So what are the
definitely.
negative consequences? Like if you lose, if you go below that threshold, what happens?
Yeah, well, if you lose, if you go above that threshold, I mean, the game notifies you, and you can see that there's some problems from time to time. But some of the active trade deals you have might fall down, might just dissipate, you know.
Right.
And that the order of how they are removed depends on many factors, like how long you've traded with the kingdoms, the relationships, and stuff like that. But it kind of forces you in a place where the game tells you, hey, this is how much you can trade. This is too much. This specific deal has fallen down because you can't upkeep it.
Right. So what are the different ways that you can increase the amount of commerce you have? I mean, obviously, if you want to do merchant gameplay, you want to have different merchants doing different things. This is pretty important.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what are the things that you do to grow that commerce value up?
Yeah, so apart from the regular buildings to make commerce and traditions, there's also, for example, as you already know, the people know that many different settlements in the game give different bonuses. So, for example, villages give commerce, and a lot of different synergies are revolving around that. For example, maybe putting a governor somewhere might be beneficial compared to other places because you would gain more commerce from those places.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Also,
Right.
depending on what skills they have, they might say plus one commerce per village in governed territory or something like that. And as you
One of
start the
those
game,
things
you
where it's
kind of
like if you
see.
had like a specific skill on a governor and you had a province that had like bonuses of commerce in it,
Yeah,
you may want to put that governor there to amplify it so you can get the more commerce to do better trading.
yeah, definitely. So those synergies like that, you kind of start to figure out once you start playing the game. Okay, what territories am I in? Is it really viable to develop commerce right now? Maybe there's a lot of mines and farms,
Sure.
which
Yeah.
would mean I would probably go into a lot of armies and food. But if there's a lot of villages or depending on what skills I get in my nights, there are very situational stuff, but it all kind of works together in the end, so you can narrow down a strategy.
I love about that because the strategies are so multifaceted. So you really
Yeah.
have to kind of think through like, okay, I have this province, I'm going to develop it this way. Maybe I'll drop a governor there, but then I get a new province that has some baseline bonuses that I want to take advantage of. And you're trying to
Mm.
figure out, do I want to keep the governor in the place that I've developed? Or do I want to move that governor to somewhere else where the baseline bonuses could be bigger? And you're kind of thinking through that metagame
Yeah,
in
yeah,
your
yeah,
head. I think is really, really cool.
yeah.
What are some of the buildings that you build to boost commerce? I mean, when you're developing the province, I mean, right now, obviously, these are things we're working on, but what are some of the ones that you have in the game that you could construct and would modify your commerce?
But to be honest, right now with the current balance and distribution of the buildings, we have a lot of coastal-oriented buildings that have commerce. Because obviously, if you have sea outlets, you might have a lot of docks, a lot of harbors and stuff like that. So whenever you start with a kingdom that's close to the sea, you know I can go for a lot of economy and trading.
Sure.
Also, a lot of different buildings that grant you specific goods that make sense to give commerce. So, for example, more exotic stuff like spices or jewelry and stuff like that. It's kind of again situational. What you expect as a player, a building to give you. Sometimes a big dilemma is: do we give commerce or gold? It's always tough. Uh, but yeah, buildings like that mostly.
That's very cool. I personally love the commerce system. I think it adds, I mean, when you first look at it, you're like, oh man, I feel constrained. So I have to grow this thing. But it opens up a
Yeah,
lot of possibilities for planning. And I've definitely been playing where you're like, all right, I want to trade with France or something. And I'm going to go and I know it's going to be a good trade deal and I want to grow it. So I need the commerce room to do that. And then
yeah.
I'm sitting there looking around and trying to figure out which provinces can I develop in order to make that trade as useful as possible. I think that's really
Hmm.
fun.
Also, I guess I can. I'm not gonna spoil it if I say it. I'm just gonna hint at it. But we do have points, and we're making stuff about pretty finding. I mean, some historical territories. You know, those were trade havens, and
Oh, right, right.
we kind of have a system that goes like there's a higher chance you can get some more trade oriented stuff here. So, for example, more villages and some sets of predefined things that allow you to build certain buildings and develop your infrastructure in this specific town in that way that you might become a, you know, a big powerhouse when it comes to commerce.
That's really cool too because it kind of changes the game on who you maybe decide to like stabby, right? Like you may decide, oh man,
Oh yeah,
that province is a commerce hub, and I really want that because it's historically like, you know, Venice or something. I don't know what the
yeah,
provinces
absolutely.
were back then, but you know, you know that that's a place that you want to go grab, and it may motivate your alliances. And yeah, it's I love how multifaceted that is. So excellent, you know, awesome system. I think it's really cool. The last thing we want to talk about specifically when it comes to the merchants is I think honestly it is the most exciting aspect of it. What we've changed the merchants recently. This is relatively new. It came up about like what I think 2 or 3 months ago is when this thing got added in, and I
Yeah,
love the potential for it. And it's really this idea of what's the exact name for it? I think they're called like the opportunities.
opportunities. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And you get these opportunities that pop up. So to set the stage here, I'm going to use we'll use Germany in this time. So I say I've done a trade deal with Germany. My merchant's there. He's sitting there doing things. I'm trading for food, and then I'm playing the game. I'm just doing stuff and playing the game. And then all of a
yeah.
sudden, a pop-up shows up out of nowhere. Just this random pop-up. That's how opportunities work. These things that happen that are unique opportunities that maybe you decide to take advantage of or not. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, definitely. They're, I mean, in their basic sense, they're kind of like actions, but not really, because they're, as you said, they pop up out of nowhere and they might last for some time, but usually they disappear if you don't take advantage of them. And once again, they're very situational. So for example, if you seem, we've posted previous screenshots with traditions and skills and dual tips. There's a bunch of opportunities that are mentioned there, so you can, for some of them, you know you have them, you know you might have them, but others are really hidden away. So as you play the game, you start figuring out, hey, if I do this there, I will get this opportunity maybe. I mean, you guys already talked about the food barter, which is an interesting opportunity, but there's also many more for the merchant. I mean, not gonna spoil by saying all of them, but I mean,
Well,
obviously most of them.
maybe talk about one or two from the dev diary because everyone probably hasn't read it. So, you know,
Yeah.
give them an example. What is an opportunity that that you may see show up on your screen? How would that
Yeah,
work?
for example, let's say the one that we showed with the screenshot of the mercenaries, securing the mercenaries. Obviously, this means that you must have a trader, you must have a merchant in the kingdom which has a mercenary station there, and you get an opportunity to maybe kind of deal with the mercenaries and make them join your cause. So if you succeed, they will start traveling towards the nearest province that you own, and then you can go there and hire them for free, which is really nice. And once again, this opportunity, for example, has a boost of negotiation skills. So if your merchant has negotiation, there's a higher chance the mercenaries will agree to join your site.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
one of the
that's
opportunities that I think is very interesting, and again, this kind of ties to that metagaming thing. You know, there's a success and a failure chance to these opportunities if you get them to show up. So you may not, even if it gets there, you get one that shows up that's really cool and you want to try it. You may be like, oh man, right now it's like, man, I may not, my merchant may not be skilled enough to make this happen, or my relationship with this kingdom may
yeah.
not be high enough. There's a lot of different factors that are involved there. So in a way, you want to like, you know, put a merchant in a place and then get their skills and traditions that you decide for your kingdom to take advantage of them. One of the ones that shows up that I always think is kind of interesting is that
front of you in beautiful detail.
can't remember the exact wording of it. I think it's like an investment deal where it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, where you
and
increase your trade potential in the kingdom.
oh, and I'll talk about that one in a second. This is the one where it's like
Oh, okay, okay.
the number's gonna be wrong, but it's like, all right, give me
Exquisite.
1,000 gold,
Yeah,
and then
something. Yes.
and I may be able to get you 5,000 gold back. And it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, I mean, 1,000's a lot, but I could get 5,000, but maybe I'll just lose the 1,000 and get nothing. In a weird way, it's almost like gambling, but it makes sense. It's like your merchant found this opportunity where it's like, hey, like we have this investment opportunity. It may work out, it may not. I don't know. But if you give me 1,000 gold and I go to Germany and do these things, maybe I'll come back with a larger sum in a little bit. And it's kind of fun to sit there and go, I mean, I could really use that extra 4 grand, but I don't know if I want to take the 1,000 right now because I have a building I could build right now. And you're kind of like playing that game and you see how long, what the success chance is. And that opportunity is not going to be there forever. Like you may get it and you're like, if I can get one more skill, I bet I can get that opportunity amount higher. And so
then
you
it's
decide
gone.
not to decide. Yeah. So you're like, I'll decide later, and it shows up there. It's like, all right, like you only, and then you're sitting there trying frantically to get it going, and then it disappears. And you're like, no, I didn't do it fast enough. And it's just so much fun, like that back and forth and trying to figure out, when you take advantage of one, the risk and reward. It's engaging. It's fun to play with.
Yeah, that's a really good example for an interaction that works as an opportunity, because if you imagine that being an action, it just wouldn't work like that. It's either a spam action or it's just you wouldn't click it any time. But now when you receive it as an opportunity, there's kind of like a psychological element where you're really tempted to push it. Of course, as you said, it depends a lot on what factors are in play, because different opportunities have different bonuses and negatives, which show in the tooltips, as you saw in the dev diary. There's also effects that are always there. So, for example, we have base stats which are always relevant for opportunities for merchants. Let's say the merchant class level, his royalty, if he is a king or prince, stuff like that, the relationship with the kingdom where you are. But then there's also a lot of situational stuff, like how long the merchant has been there, for example, how many other merchants are situated in the kingdom, and so on.
Yeah. There's I feel like the one that I was, you were hinting at earlier, that also is my favorites, and this is where I think it's probably one of the ones that's most critical, is like the be able to expand trade with a kingdom. So you first start, say you're getting like, I don't know, 15 gold a tick or something, and you may get this opportunity to go from like small to medium sized trade, and that gets to now 25 gold a tick or 30 gold a tick. And those ones are those critical ones that you really, really want to take advantage of. And you're like kind of paying attention to those modifiers, both the baseline ones, the ones that can make that success chance higher. Because if you succeed in that one, it's a permanent improvement, which is really cool. Yeah.
And needed to state the bargaining skills has a big role there as well.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. By the way, I see that now, we got our lovely producer Alex in the background. Flash the war goat up again, but now people are calling him trade goat. So maybe we'll have merchant goats, as well as we can have like caravans of goats.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be funny. Yeah, 30 goats per tick sounds really nice. That's what Joker said.
Or goat import, goat barter.
I think when the game comes out, and I know people have been asking about the release date. We're not talking about release dates today, but when the game comes out, one challenge that I want to throw out there is, can someone conquer the world with all merchants or all spies? I talked about this way back last year when we did the first announce, the idea of like a full like a spy role court, because now merchants and spies can lead armies.
Oh yeah.
But those armies are limited. Like they're not strong armies. They're armies, but they're not as powerful as a marshal or whatever. The skills will be different. Everything's a little bit different. So I'd love to throw the gauntlet down, and maybe we'll do some contests about the first person to conquer X amount of provinces or all of Europe on a certain difficulty with only merchants in their royal court. And there's some way to validate that or whatever. That'd be really cool.
Oh yeah, I think merchants are actually going to be pretty easy, to be honest, compared to other classes. Like, for example, we haven't talked about clerics, but if you play with only clerics or diplomats, that will be interesting. That will be a bit tougher.
That would be tough.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because with the merchants, you have a lot of money, so you can always replace things really fast.
Absolutely,
if you had all merchants, that'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah, you can just buy everything.
All right, well, I think we need to move on to questions. I know we have about 15 minutes left, and I want to make sure I have enough time to go through all of them. So, Georgie, any last comments you want to make before we bring Alex back on here for Q&A time?
Well, can't think of anything right now, so I'm just gonna be boring and say thanks a lot for having me again.
Absolutely.
And can't wait for what we can share next.
We may start the forum thread of the backgrounds of Georgie. I can see it right now. Like the backgrounds of Georgie. What would be really fun is actually if someone did that, if someone screen capped all the streams, we can see how your beard grows and changes as the development goes on. Like
that would be
it's
nice.
a tough
Yeah.
milestone because the beard's a little more scraggly, background's a little more dark.
Yeah, depends on how the green screen is feeling in the day, if it picks up the beard or not.
It's true. All right, man. Well, Georgie, thank you so much for joining us.
All right.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye, guys.
All right. And now we're going to bring back Alex. I see some people are commenting about the fish again, the flying fish from the previous wonderful set of bugs that we had back a long time ago. And I think there's also a comment about wanting a goat loading screen. So Alex and Georgie and development, everyone in the development group, I am sorry if now we have to make maybe a goat loading screen. It could be like a Where's Waldo thing where we hide the goat. What do you think, Alex? Can we hide the goat in certain images and see if people find him?
Definitely. As the way the things are going, we'll have to make April's Fool DLC with goats for sure.
And say that fish. Now. No, don't say it. No, it has to be. Well, hopefully people will forget by April.
But let's first reach that point. And yeah, I'm sure that goats will be terrible diplomats. Everything else is fine, but yeah, this one.
Goats will be terrible diplomats. They'll just eat all the paper.
Yeah,
you try to send them a missive, and they're just like, "No, that looks like food."
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go into questions now. We have a number of them to go through. Again, please feel free to join our community at community.knightsofhonor.com. That's where the dev diaries get posted. They get posted on the Tuesday before the streams. We have a really vibrant community, a lot of good conversations going on right now, which is great to see. And then we always go through, I have my trusty list right here. We always go through a number of the questions from the community on the forums. We'd love to have you guys join us and participate in that conversation. So Ivory Knight, I haven't seen Ivory Knight in chat today, so maybe he wasn't able to make it. I know he does work and sometimes can't make the streams, but he did win the first post again. I don't know how he does it so consistently, but oh, Ivory Knight changed his name. He's Trixie. It's the Kings of Honor is Ivory Knight. I get it. Okay, so that's why I didn't know who it was. Ivory Knight is here. Hooray. So Ivory Knight, his question was, and I'll just read the thing, but it sounds like the trade deal the merchants set up with the kingdom is influenced by many factors: distance, the skill of the merchant, the blood type, the length of the deal, and the relation with the country. He's kind of just commenting about how just all these different factors there that seem to go into it. Can you elaborate on which of these factors have the larger or most impact on the profits, and maybe which ones do not?
If I have to pick one, I think that the relation is the biggest factor, because there is a lot of amplitude. You can have terrible relations with the kingdom and awesome ones, so it can vary a lot. And the other one is the actual potential of the trade between the kingdoms, which we mentioned that can be increased over time with an opportunity to increase it. So these are the most important ones. Also the blood type.
Yeah, definitely. By the way, I've seen two things that I'm going to comment on before we go to the next question. One, a very interesting idea. This one actually is kind of fun, about sending a goat to a person as an insult, where it's like a diplomatic action, send the goat, and it kind of makes everyone mad. That's kind of funny. And then the other one was everyone wanted to see the flying fish. So if producer Alex in the background has the flying fish video queued up, we can show that flying fish fun again for everyone while we go to the next question.
The one with the goat is pretty good. I have an idea that comes from the Godfather movie with the goat, but I will not.
The horse thing, right?
Yeah, the horse thing.
Oh my gosh, send the goat. All right, so the next question is from King John the Sixth. So King John had a whole bunch of questions, and most of them were actually around the mercenaries, because we talked about the mercenaries a little bit in context with this dev diary. So it actually got me thinking, Alex, we should do a dev diary on mercenaries sometime down the road. That'd be a fun topic to talk through a little bit.
Yeah, it's a cool one, definitely.
But we'll ask. I grabbed one of the questions. Oh, there's a fish. I grabbed one of the questions off his list, and he said, "In Knights of Honor One, mercenaries were on the map for any commander to hire given enough gold. Will this still be the case? And if so, why have this be a random event for merchants? No, I'm not opposed to other types of events, just questioning mercenaries specifically. And I think there may have been a little bit of confusion about the difference between mercenary camps that show up in the map, which are definitely still there. It's a staple of the franchise that's going to be there, and the opportunity that can come up to bring mercenaries to your kingdom based on the merchant accents. So why don't you talk
Yeah.
about that second one and why that's unique?
These are actually the same mercenaries, which are basically spawning on the map. There are other ways to have mercenaries as well. For example, if army leader dies and so on, the army can turn mercenary. But yeah, you have them on the map, but the merchant has the opportunity to send them to your kingdom, prepaying the price for those mercenaries. So this is different because they can be far away. You might not have available marshals to go to a distant kingdom, and this brings them to you. So it's this is the advantage of that opportunity. But you can
Right.
still, even without merchant, you can go and hire troops. Of course, you can.
Right, right. Well, also it kind of is. It's kind of you may not always have a merchant or a mercenary camp there. So if you really are trying to get one and that opportunity comes up, it's like, hey, I'd like to have that come to me right now. So it makes that a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. BC Knight is the next question on the list. So he says, does this mean that there is a passive trade income on top of the income for the merchants? I think he's talking about the the governor there. And then his second question was, would it be possible to use trade as an excuse to start a war? For example, to force another kingdom to allow your merchant to trade in their kingdom, or after winning the war, to force the losing side to transfer part of their trade income for a certain period of time. So very complex, but
Yeah.
neat idea. So I want to throw that out there.
Okay, for the first part, yeah, the income that you get from governing and from trading is a separate income, and even some of the deals that you make with merchants can bring you another separate income. So there are a lot of ways to gain gold with the mercenary, which don't directly depend on each other, so to say. The second question, right now, one of the things you can demand when you win a war, there's no such option to demand trade agreement. And as the game is right now, it does not make so much sense because if you have really bad relations and you have to force the other kingdom to trade with you, this trade is not going to be very beneficial. Even if you want to import some resources, there's probably some kingdom that is more sympathetic to you, and you can get it from there. So right now we don't have it, but it's one click away to add this additional demand as something you can get in the end of a war. So the system is very flexible in that direction.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool idea. I mean, whether we do it or not, who knows? But I like the idea of kind of adding different, go to war so that you trade with me because I need something, but I don't have enough power right now to take you all the way over. So it's almost like bullying. It's like, no, no, no,
Yeah.
give me those goats. I need your goats.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. I'm going to grab one from the stream. So we have Mazim90 said, question for the day. Will your relations with other kingdoms be affected if you stop trading with them or convince another kingdom to stop trading, therefore making them angry at you and possibly declaring war on you?
Yeah, absolutely. Breaking a trade for reasons that depend on you. So if you intentionally break a trade agreement, especially if you're already making some deals and so on, has a relationship backlash. So it can be the tipping stone of a war. But yeah, it's not huge penalty. For example, it's not like you just killed the king of the other kingdom, but they like you less if you do that.
Well, it's probably like it's probably like a trend, right? Like say you have a good relationship with someone, and it's like you slowly start souring that relationship. Like, I was trading with you, but now I'm not, and now maybe I'm not. Like, I kick your diplomat out, and like you can do actions that kind of show, maybe I'm coming for you. You know, it kind of has that kind of escalation feel to it. I think more than if you just break a trade agreement, they get mad and go to war with you. So that makes sense. So two really quick last questions. One, and I saw Yavor in the chat was asking if we're going to see Vesto again. We'll definitely want to bring Vesto back in the dev stream at some point. I mean, obviously he's super busy. He's running a whole studio and making this awesome game. So getting him on board is not always super easy, but definitely I know he watches the streams afterwards and gets some of the questions. So I'll do my best to maybe get him to come on sometime in the near future. We'll see how that goes. And the last question I'm going to, yeah, okay. He's so busy though. It's always kind of tricky to get him in. And the last question I'm going to grab before we call it, Shopo from Niners Gaming, which I don't know what that is, but that's a question from the forums. Does maintaining a trade route mean a better relationship with a corresponding kingdom? Maybe even a slight but constantly improving one as long as the trading runs smoothly? So basically, as I'm trading with someone, does that improve my diplomatic relationship with them while I'm trading? Like, do we get more better friends? Do we become better friends as I'm trading with you longer? Or is it just something where it's like, once I've traded with you, I had to like get that relationship to a certain point, but then it kind of stays that way?
The answer to this is yes. You have some small increase of relations, and it depends on how good are the relations and so on. The trade relations, I mean, they improve the overall relations between the kingdom. But there is also an indirect dependence for some of us. We didn't want to make the diplomacy just a simple, you have good relation and this is okay for everything, and you have bad relation and this stops everything. So for some deals, some agreements, diplomatic agreements, if you have trade, this is really important. And for other, not so much. For example, it's more complex.
What you guys don't realize right now, and this is really fun, somehow this question from Shopo accidentally tricked Alex to start talking about diplomacy, because they're working on diplomacy right now a lot with the current milestone. And so his mind is like in diplomacy land, like that's what he's thinking about. And so you can hear these little bits coming out from some of the diplomacy work, which I love. I love it. Like you get a little bit of a sneak preview without even really meaning to do it. It's great.
Yeah. But overall, we should not get in details indeed for diplomacy. But it's not just relation. Every factor counts for some of the things more, for some of the things less. So that's really cool.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. That was great. That's a good moment. You can see the brain moving where it's like I've been working on this stuff for a month and a half straight, and it just pours out immediately. It's great.
Yeah.
Alex, so much fun having you on. This is a good stream. I actually really like the talk about trade. It seems like everyone seemed to enjoy it.
Thank you. It was fun for me too.
Yeah, great. Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. I don't think we have our topic published for the next stream yet. Alex and company are still trying to figure out which one we're going to talk about next. But that'll come up in about 4 weeks as normal. We're on this 4-week clip. We're going to keep going. So please join the community.knightsofhonor.com. And that way you can see when the new dev diary comes up. Also, we're probably going to keep this time slot. This one seems to be a little bit easier for people. I'm noticing more people are around, so maybe that one's a better time slot for everybody. And then, we'd love to also have you on our different social channels. We have Twitter, Facebook. We have a Discord channel that's very healthy, and a lot of people are talking on there. So lots of places and ways for you all to get plugged in. We really hope you come and join us. Alex, any parting words before we say goodbye?
Stay tuned. That's pretty much what.
Awesome. And Yavor, by the way, as a personal thanks, I saw you cheering the Atlanta Braves in chat. That always gets me going. So appreciate that, man. That's awesome. Thank you. We don't have MySpace. Maybe we should make a MySpace page. That'd be interesting. Bosan's right. We don't have a MySpace page. I'll talk to the team. That's a fun one. Everyone, thank you so much for joining the chat today. It was a lot of fun, and we will see you next time. Have a great one.
See you guys.
Cheers.